It's the 8th of October and it's time for the 8th film in my 31 Horrors of Mike. Sorry about the mix up the last couple of days. I tried to upload what was supposed to be yesterday's video through the night and I woke up this morning and it hadn't uploaded. So I had to upload it again, which you'll see before this one. Anyway, so today's film review is going to be Burnt Offerings, which is a film from 1977. It's a film which I saw when I was a kid and it's always really affected me. It's a film that perhaps it affected me to a greater degree than it actually is a great film, but it certainly is a really interesting horror film. I'm a big fan of haunted house movies. The whole haunted house genre I just love from beginning to end. I'll even watch, poorer haunted house films. There's just something about that genre that I absolutely love. Indeed, The Innocents and The Haunting are two of my favourite films. Obviously The Shining as well. And I think Burnt Offerings is a really interesting film. It's directed by Dan Curtis, who directed The Night Stalker. Many of you will know that that's one of my favourite movies of all time. And he also directed The Night Strangler, the follow-up. He also was involved in Dark Shadows, amongst other things, Trilogy of Terror as well. And the film stars Burgess Meredith, Oliver Reed, Bette Davis, and Karen Black. And it's, so the actual cast itself is absolutely fantastic. And Dan Curtis had teamed up with Karen Black on Trilogy of Terror, which is a good little anthology horror film. The story follows a family called the Rolfs who are going to take their summer vacation together. There's the mother and father and their son, their young son. And what they've done is they've sort of answered an ad where they're going to look after this old house. They're basically going to house sit. They're going to get to stay in this old mansion for very little. And the only catch is that they have to look after one of the residents. So when they get there, they're greeted by Burgess Meredith and his sister, and they are very, very creepy, really creepy. In fact, there's a real undertone of paedophilia coming from Burgess Meredith's character. In fact, it's pretty overt. He's watching Oliver Reed's son through the window playing, and yeah, they are really, really creepy. And they're going away for the summer, but their elderly mother lives upstairs in her room, and she is very private. She never really leaves her room, and all they ask is that one of them takes care of their mother by bringing her food. And this falls to Karen Black, who's the mother of the Rolf family. Now, we don't really get to see, for large parts of the film, we don't really get to see the old lady in the room at the top of the house, which she's only alluded to. You only hear of Karen Black's character going upstairs and leaving food and things like that. But while they're there seems to be this malevolent force in the house. There seem to be a number of sort of supernatural goings on, and the family starts to experience changes of character. Oliver Reed's character very much undergoes a kind of Jack Torrance from The Shining type of transformation at different points in the film, manages to pull himself back from it and then be filled with rage again. And the boy, really, the son, really suspects that there's something pretty dark about the entire situation. Now, it's a film that currently has a 38% rating on Rotten Tomatoes, and I think this is a good example of a film which was torn apart by critics at the time, and a film which not many people know about as a result of that, but it should surprise you. Now, what really makes this film great is the beginning and the end. The film does lag in the middle. There are problems with it, but I think there is an inherent, I don't even know if you would call it a creepiness. The film's unsettling because it has this undertone of child abuse at the start of the film. You don't know who the old lady is staying up in the room at the top of the house. And also the house itself is, while it's this sort of magnificent mansion on this estate, this sort of isolated estate, it's also very sort of run down and very sort of, it's a very ominous place. What really makes the film much better than critics have given it, in my opinion, is the conclusion. The conclusion to the movie is really great, and it's really something special, in my opinion. It's full of tension, and there's this kind of feeling of, that they're running out of time for whatever's happening in that house. And it also, a lot of the time in these sorts of films, you get this thing where you always think, get yourself out of that situation, go away from it, and you'll be fine. Why are characters so dumb sometimes, where they just stay in these terrible situations? And Burnt Offerings, there's explanations for that. There are things that happen that stop them from leaving, and they deal with that in a really effective way. But it is, just generally speaking, an uneasy film. It is uneven. It's not amazing. It's not one of the best haunted house films ever made, but it's certainly got one of the greatest endings to any haunted house film, and it's just really, really worth a watch. I think it's one of those ones that you can't really put on and then just sort of not pay much attention to. You have to pay attention to it. You have to sort of take in the atmosphere. And like I say, it lags in the middle. There's no doubt about that. But the payoff is so great. In fact, the final images of this film haunt me to this very day. There's certain films that you see when you're a kid, and there's just maybe a scene or a moment that just stays with you. This is one of those films. I remember watching it and just thinking, Jesus Christ, and it still sticks with me. Still absolutely sticks with me. And maybe it will do that with you. I mean, certainly it's going to have a greater effect because there's a young boy in it as well. And I think I was a sort of similar age to the kid in the film. You're sort of relating to it. You're sort of thinking, what if my family were in this situation? But I think even as an adult, it's still going to have an effect on you. So that's Burnt Offerings. I should say, interestingly, that there are similarities with The Shining, but what's interesting is that Burnt Offerings came first. So maybe not before the book, but certainly before some of the things that are in Stanley Kubrick's The Shining. I don't think that they copied it or anything like that. I think it's just one of these happy coincidences where there are certain things which are there are parallels between the two films. And like I say, really, really worth checking out. I think I did mention this film a long time ago. I did a video on haunted house films, but I thought that it really deserved me to talk about it a little bit more. So go check that out, and by all means go and check out anything really by Dan Curtis, because he's a really underrated director, and throughout the 70s he really gave us some great television horror, something that maybe you don't get that often now in terms of like one-off films. There's some great TV series out there, horror TV series, but we don't really get the one-off TV movies. Like Kolchak the Night Stalker was like the biggest TV movie of all time up until not that long ago, and I think that Dan Curtis was really a master of that. So go check that out, and I'll be back tomorrow with another horror movie review. Bye for now.